Hey, this is Matt once again. What about the other video? This is another paid request, this time for DavieVids. Thank you so much for that. For those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, pretty much any type, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. Now, he phrased his question in an interesting way. Which film adaptation is better? Resident Evil or Silent Hill? Why? And then how do you fit the weaker one? He said film adaptation. He didn't say what was a better movie or what was more entertaining. He says which is better film adaptation. And that made things a bit tougher because when you looked at both films, like when you look at Silent Hill, I think most people would technically say that would be the better adaptation in the fact of, one, it uses the music from the game, which is a nice plus. It is great music. Number two, it does try to look like the game. Granted, the game, it was fog. They even say fog in Silent Hill. What's up with this fog? But in the movie, they make it ash. A bunch of ashes falling down. They do recreate scenes from the game, like when the lead character goes down this narrow corridors and you see the person hanging there and these little creatures that are, it's trying to create certain camera angles. The story is somewhat the same, where a daughter, a parent looking for their daughter, there's some shenanigans going on. How do I do it? Because I make it sound so vague. I don't know why I make it seem like you haven't seen the film. Spoilers. Apparently, it seems more similar to the game than Resident Evil movie. Because you look at the Resident Evil movie, there are no characters from the games. There's no music from the games, for what I remember. There's a liquor, there's zombies, there's Umbrella, but there's not a lot of scenes that are reminiscent of the games, like environments. The thing of it is, though, if you're asking me which movie I would rather watch, I'd rather watch Resident Evil. Because in a weird way, that makes me less mad, and I thought it was more entertaining compared to Silent Hill. Because while technically you say Silent Hill, in a weird way, that's what pisses me off more. Kind of like how Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City pisses me off more than the first Resident Evil movie. Is that they actually do try to get some stuff from the game, but then there's some stuff that they so wildly miss the fucking mark that pisses me off even more. Like, you had this, why didn't you do this? You had that, why didn't you do that? To be spat and spit in your face. And now that director wants to do another Silent Hill movie? Fuck no, fuck no, fuck no, fuck no, piss off. So, fuck it. The answer for me is I'd rather watch Resident Evil, the movie. I don't know how else to answer that question, because while you technically say Silent Hill is more faithful, at the same time it pisses me off more, and it makes me dislike the movie more. Because Resident Evil, I could say the maybe bare essentials are there. Again, the Umbrella Corporation, a virus, zombies, there's a liquor. There's little Easter eggs, like the map kind of looked like a map in the game, and certain other instances. The ending where they're in that train, which is kind of reminiscent of Resident Evil 2, which had the train system at the end. It just felt like because it was still its own animal, I could still enjoy it as a standalone movie on its own. like its own separate entity. That okay, this one film could maybe exist within the Resident Evil games. Now the sequels, those I dislike more. But this, in a way, it's its own animal. It could serve like a prequel, almost, or a side mission happening at the same time as this other stuff's happening. I don't know how else to explain it. Because in that movie, I don't mind Mila Jovovich, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but I could deal with her in that. I don't mind Michelle Rodriguez. I do like the music by Marilyn Manson, and it's a new music they made. So Silent Hill's great that they used the music, it's more faithful, but I do like original creations. I thought Marilyn Manson really did an effective score. I kind of wish he did more musical scores for movies. Granted, the first half of Resident Evil, it gets a bit too slow and boring. You're kind of waiting for it to kick it up a notch. And when it does, I mean, it's not Dawn of the Dead. Far from it. I would put the original Dawn and remake of Dawn above it. But, there's some fun stylistic choices. I like the way the dogs look. The dogs look like... I mean, it's sad that the dogs in the 2002 movie look better than when they did that Raccoon to Raccoon City bitches in that movie. So, go figure with that. I mean, there's only like a 10-year difference, but again, go figure. But yeah, it's one of those things where I look at it and go, what the fuck? Oh, yeah, that's kind of my reaction. What the fuck? Why? How did they get worse? The best way to do it, and I know I'm going all over the place, is to really get into my thoughts on Silent Hill. Because that's really the crux of this for me. Silent Hill 1 and 2 are some of my favorite games ever. They are. I go back and forth between which is my favorite, Silent Hill 2 or the original Resident Evil 4. If I want atmosphere and creep factor and to get a bit into the story, I go Silent Hill 2. If I want fun action, I go Resident Evil 4. Which I know the remake is out. Maybe I'll pick it up one day. I warmed up to my thoughts on how it looks, but I can always wait till it gets cheaper or something. Because, I got so much other stuff to do anyway. So I can always wait and be patient. Now, because there is a PlayStation 4 version out there. But with Silent Hill, I really love that first game. I grew up with it. I played it endlessly, again and again. And the changes they make, I love how some of the faithfulness of it. Like I said, the look of the film and the way the music is and the sound design, the technical aspects, I really appreciate it. But they get everything else to me so fucking wrong that, and it's trying to be the first game. See, Resident Evil isn't trying to be the first Resident Evil game. I think if it was and it did all this stupid stuff, I would maybe be more mad emotionally. But they needlessly changed the sex of the main protagonist because the director himself, Christopher Gahn, says, well, I played the first Silent Hill game. No, you didn't. You watch people play it. Let's be honest. And the lead character, he's always crying or fainting or scared. So he's looking for his child. So that's like feminine traits. So we think it should be a mother looking for his child. First off, a person looking for their child is either parent, mother or father. That's number one. Number two, you never played the game. Because I played the game dozens of times. That character does not endlessly scream or faint. He faints maybe twice because of going to the other world. 2 or 3 times at most. And that's because of the supernatural shenanigans. Is that because, oh, I'm so scared. Oh. Is that because he's such a giant fucking pussy, as you make him sound like? Maybe you can lick my hairy balls. Harry Mason is not as much of a pussy Now the voice acting is not top notch, although I do think the voice acting is a bit better than the Resident Evil 1 voice acting, but that's personal preference. But so that's what you can improve on with the movie. And I would say you could get like Thomas Jane or Aaron Eckhart or multiple various other people. So they changed that for stupid, idiotic reasons, and it was a needless change. So you have Harry Mason's story without Harry Mason. That's number one. What's the big deal? Okay, I'm gonna make Wonder. Okay, I'm gonna remake Alien, and it's not gonna be Ellen Ripley. It's gonna be Ted Ripley. It's gonna be Ted Ripley, and I'm gonna get Scott Adkins to play Ted Ripley, and he could beat the shit out of Xenomorphs. There you go. Scott Adkins is Ted Ripley, and my remake of Alien. You better not complain though, because my adaptation. Are you sexist? If you complain, you're sexist. Then, like, okay, they bring in monsters, but then they bring in monsters from Silent Hill 2. Like the things that look like they're in straitjackets and they're moving around like this. That's from Silent Hill 2. That's not from Silent Hill 1. And Pyramid Head. That's from Silent Hill 2. That's what I mean, that they don't get the whole point of Silent Hill. That Silent Hill 2, those creatures are in that game for a psychological aspect because of the character James and what's going on with his wife and what happened to his wife and what he thought he had to do to his wife. Whether because, spoiler alert, Silent Hill 2, you find out at the end that his wife was sick and dying and all this stuff and was angry and violent and hurtful. And there's a part of him that he suffocated his wife. And you say that he eased her suffering, but there was a part of him that's like, I'm glad it's over because I was tired of suffering and emotionally dying as well, and the guilt of that. And that's what Pyramid Head represents, is the judge, jury, executioner, and these other people. Like the thing, you could go in all sorts of aspects. What a guy that looks like he's in a straitjacket moving around like this represents in terms of James. And the more sexy nurses represents James. Anyway, completely missed the mark on that. And the whole point of Silent Hill is to be alone. About how alone this town is. About how in Silent Hill 1, you meet maybe 3 people at most. 4 people, maybe. 4 people. You meet Gillespie, you meet the female cop, you meet a doctor, and you meet a nurse. That's it. 4 people. But in here, and that's to create the isolation of that town. That's to create the, everywhere I look, there's no one to help me. There's no one I can get help from. I have to do it by myself. There's all these monsters around. There's monsters coming from the fog, because it was fog in the game, and they're in every turn. Or they really show the darkness, and this light is only your savior. As you walk around the school, you barely see there's a monster in the dark, and it comes slowly out. These are images I remember since I played it back in the late 90s. But then when you have this full cult in town with over 100 people, and people in masks and all this, like, what the hell is this now? So instead you get an ending that's trying to be more like Hellraiser with chains and shit flying around, and I'm like, okay, this might be neat for a Hellraiser movie, but it's not Silent Hill. Which, for the most part, there's more subtlety. Well, depends which game you play, I guess. So, and I'm sitting there going, and then there are dialogue exchanges in that movie that's worse than the game. Like when I forget her damn name now, the actress, She was in, and I like the actress. She was in. It's don't come to me. Bear with me. Whatever. Her and the cop find this female cult member, and she's talking about our faith. And the way that actress talks, and the way the editing, and the way people try to converse, it just feels so awkward. I mean, how is it that I got some better voice acting in the game than in this scene? And also, the pacing at times drags in that movie. I mean, some of the pacing drags in Resident Evil, the first movie, but that still felt like a better paced movie than the Silent Hill movie. Because that feels overlong. And don't get me started on that bullshit with Sean the Beanie Baby cutting to him and his useless fucking story that I think they added in because we need more of a sausage fest in the movie. We need some guys in there. Like, you had a guy that you took out of the fucking game. Which is ironic. You had a guy in the game who's the lead. You took him out, and then the company's like, well, we need some guys in here. So they make this useless fucking side story of Sean Bean looking around, and you put exposition, and it just... Most people would just skip those parts if they watch the film anyway. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a fan cut that someone made that just cut out all the Sean Bean scenes. So while Resident Evil I could view as somewhat entertaining time waster, that I could see some elements of the Resident Evil vibe. Again, with the virus and the Umbrella Corporation, and I said that some of the monsters like the dogs and the lictors. But at the same time, I mean, you could technically say neither one is a good film adaptation of their games. Sadly, in a way, because Resident Evil is more of its own thing, in a way made it better than Silent Hill, at times trying so hard and at times just failing so wildly that somebody just pissed me off more. So Silent Hill, I think that's the weaker one. What I would do to fix it, if you get all these technical aspects for the game, then go all the way. Get Thomas Jane. I would get Thomas Jane as the lead character. I would get rid of all of these people in the cult. I would make it very few people. I would get more of a sense of isolation, and I'm alone, and there's no one there to help me. You keep the actress who played the cop. I thought she did fine. I'm bad with names, so I forgot her name. Had more of a sense of mystery, more of a sense of... Let the audience... They have a brain. They could try to figure some stuff out. You don't need spots to stop the movie for exposition. You don't need any of the Sean, the Bean, all that stuff. Completely throw out the window. Put in a box, throw that bitch in the ocean. Don't open the box. Don't have Pyramid Head in it. Stick with the creatures in the fucking first game. Create more of a scary, moody atmosphere. Keep the school section. You even keep the sewer section. There's a guy named Liquid Snake who edited a movie version of Silent Hill, the first game. He literally took the first game and did a wonderful job editing like a 90-minute, maybe a little over 2 hour. Which, I mean, that's the running time of the movie anyway. About 2 hours or so, with the good ending. Just film that. Just film that. And yeah, there's going to be things that doesn't dot the I's and cross the T's. Welcome to Silent Hill. That's kind of par for the course for a lot of Silent Hill. Because it'd be open interpretation. Create more of that sense of isolation, more of that dread, more creepy atmosphere. Add in scenes like the father getting the phone call and his daughter's crying for help, and it stops. And he's trying to call for his daughter. Or when he walks by the screen of TVs and shots of his daughter on there, begging for help. And he sees it and he can't do anything about it. You do that the right way, it would be creepy. You get this sense of isolation. You throw in monsters for him that kick ass, but he's not a Navy SEAL or anything, but he shoots a bit with a gun or smacks him in the face. Get people like, Great Nicotero. Get some, good makeup effects people in there. And use less CGI. Keep the look of the town that they had in the first movie, in that movie. Keep the music they were using. I don't need the fucking, Hellraiser chains, ending. Do you get a better kid actress? Because I don't think that kid actress was that great. Don't have stupid shit like the kid meowing. Meow. 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 The fuck is this girl? Does she need a special helmet? I don't know what the fuck her problem was. Say meow, meow, meow. Fuck you meowing for? Do you have a litter box, kid? For fuck's sake. See, that's what I mean. It pissed me off more with the shit in that movie. Now, yeah, Resident Evil, I mean, there's a lot of things you could say. Make the first game into a movie. But again, because it really created its own, like, maybe this is happening during the first game or its own side. Again, the less it was like the game, it was almost, I don't know how the hell else to explain it. So yeah, the Silent Hill movie most people would technically say that's the more faithful adaptation. But to me, there's some stuff faithful, but there's others that just piss me off fucking more and just, yeah. I mean, how fucking hard is it sometimes? I ask these people, They don't fucking listen, though. How fucking hard is it sometimes with this shit? I don't know where the fuck I put the goddamn game. It's in here somewhere. But how fucking hard is it sometimes? Like some shit you fucking change for no goddamn good reason. There it is. Some arbitrary bullshit reasons. Like, if the whole part of the game is that you're by yourself and it's a sense of you're alone to make things creepier, why the fuck do you add, like, 100 fucking people in it? Like, why do you... There's literally a fucking scene when she goes through all the nurses, and then the film stops to almost give its own fucking cutscene. Let me just explain which blah 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 burn blah 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 blah. In case you're too stupid to figure it out. For fuck's sake. And if you don't want to do the doctor stuff and the first game in there, I can understand. I understand that maybe if you did the first game, again, there'd be some stuff that would be... Maybe you add some things in the plot to make it more effective for a mainstream audience. But I mean, they did this movie and it wasn't like a box office phenomenon anyway. There's still people that were confused. There's still people like Roger Ebert that gave it like 1 star. So, fuck it. Like I said, don't add shit from Silent Hill 2 because now you can never do a Silent Hill 2 movie. See, they did that bullshit Silent Hill Revelations. You want to talk about bad movies? That completely shit on Silent Hill 3. For fuck's sake. It was ironic because I just technically Sean Bean would have been the Harry Mason character. And he dies in the game, and Sean Bean usually dies in movies, and that's one of the films he actually lives. Go figure. But, yeah, that's the best way I could put it. Sorry, DavieVids. With that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.